Have you ever looked up at the moon on a clear night and felt a pull? A sense of wonder at the vast, silent darkness that cradles our world. We see astronauts as pioneers, adventurers touching the face of the sublime. We see the stunning photographs, the floating, almost dance-like movements in zero gravity, and we imagine a kind of peace. But what if that peace is an illusion? What happens to the human mind when it is untethered from everything it has ever known? When you're sealed in a metal box with the endless, silent void staring back at you, and the whole of human history reduced to a silent, blue marble in your window. The greatest challenge of space travel isn't the rocketry or the engineering. It's the 3-pound universe of soft tissue and electricity inside the astronaut's helmet. So the question isn't just, can we survive in space? It is it possible not to go mad up there? The first enemy is the environment itself, not the vacuum outside, but the world inside. Astronauts speak of the initial euphoria, the sheer joy of floating, but that novelty fades and a new reality sets in. Your world shrinks to the size of a small flat, a space you must share with a handful of other people, 24 hours a day, with no possibility of escape. This is more than just feeling cooped up. It's a profound state of isolation. Every familiar sensory cue is gone. There's no rain on a window pane, no wind in the trees, no scent of grass after a storm. The air is filtered, the sounds are the constant hum and whir of machinery, and the view, magnificent as it is unchanging in its silent perfection. This sensory deprivation can warp your perception. And then there's the light. On the ISS, astronauts experienced 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every single day. This completely shatters the body's circadian rhythm, the ancient, internal clock that governs our sleep, mood, and metabolism. Insomnia becomes a constant battle, fought with sleeping masks, medication, and sheer force of will. It's a relentless, low-level assault on the very foundations of your biological sanity. And then there is the view. It's the great paradox of space psychology. Many astronauts experience a profound cognitive shift, a feeling of overwhelming connection and unity, known as the overview effect. Seeing Earth from a distance, a single fragile sphere without borders, suspended in the dark, can be a life-altering, almost spiritual experience. Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell described it as a sense of interconnectedness and instant global consciousness. But the same window that shows you this beautiful, life-affirming marble also shows you the alternative. The abyss. An infinite, star-dusted blackness that is completely indifferent to your existence. Stare into that for too long, and the overview effect can curdle into something else. A feeling of profound separation, a cosmic loneliness that no human was ever evolved to handle. You are impossibly far from home, and that thought, if it takes root, can be a very dangerous thing. Perhaps the most volatile element in space is not the rocket fuel, but the crew itself. Team dynamics are everything. When you can't walk away from an argument, when a colleague's personal habits become inescapable, small frictions can grow into dangerous fractures. History is filled with whispers of these tensions. The most famous case was Skylab 4 in 1973. 3 astronauts on America's first space station were pushed to their limits by a grueling, relentless work schedule. The mission was a success, but psychologically, it was fraying. The crew became irritable. Their communication with ground control grew tense. At one point, they reportedly staged a work stoppage, a sort of quiet, unofficial mutiny, taking an entire day off to simply look out the window and recalibrate.
Who had completed man's longest space mission, spending 85 days in space.
The fact of the matter is, if man stops really stretching himself and extending himself and looking out, then I think that's when civilization will begin to decline. Man just has that inquisitive nature, and it's got to be satisfied. On our mission, we elected prior to the launch to increase the exercise period from an hour to an hour and a half. And this was done mainly on the basis of recommendations of the previous crew. They felt there just was not enough time for a good exercise period, that you really needed more time. We were also bringing up the little treadmill, which was going to require time for use, so we just ended up going for an hour and a half per day exercise. It appears that that decision was a good one because we came back, I think, in better condition than has any other crew.
NASA learned a crucial lesson. You can't treat astronauts like components in a machine. They are human beings, and they need autonomy, respect, and downtime, especially when the pressure is immense. Every crew on a long-duration mission is, in essence, a family, and they have to navigate all the complexities that come with it, with none of the usual escape valves. So how do you prepare a mind for such an ordeal? Space agencies like NASA and ESA have spent decades perfecting the art of psychological screening and training. They're not just looking for pilots and scientists. They are looking for a specific psychological profile. People with high levels of resilience, emotional stability, and self-regulation. People who are, in a word, unflappable. The selection process is famously rigorous, filtering out thousands of applicants. But those who are selected then undergo intense training in Earth-based analog environments. They are sent to the bottom of the ocean in the Nemo habitat, living and working in confinement for weeks at a time to simulate a space mission. They are sent on grueling wilderness survival courses in remote locations, forcing them to rely on their wits and each other. This isn't just about technical skills, it's about stress inoculation. They deliberately push astronauts to their breaking points on Earth, so when a crisis happens 400 kilometers above it, their minds are already conditioned to stay calm, to work the problem, and to trust the person floating next to them. So, is it possible not to go mad in space? The answer, overwhelmingly, seems to be yes. And the reason is perhaps the most hopeful thing of all. It turns out that the human mind is far more resilient and adaptable than we often give it credit for. The very same curiosity that drives us to ask, "What's out there?" is a powerful psychological anchor, a sense of purpose, of being part of a mission far greater than oneself, can shield the mind against the crushing loneliness of the void. The discipline of training provides structure when time itself becomes fluid, and the camaraderie of a well-chosen crew provides a human connection in the most inhuman of places. We are a species that climbed out of caves and crossed oceans, driven by an insatiable need to see what lies over the next hill. Space is just the next hill. It tests our minds to their absolute limits, but it also reveals their incredible strength. We don't go to space in spite of the psychological challenges. We go because overcoming them is the very essence of what it means to be human. Fragile, breakable, and yet endlessly, defiantly curious.